Hello everyone, today we are going to see the socket programming in Java using TCP and UDP protocol. That is a practical guide to understand and implement the sockets. So, what is socket? Socket. Let's see the definition of socket first. A socket is a communication endpoint that allow a program to send and receive the data over network. So, socket provide the uh, communication. It is work as a communication endpoint that allows to program send and receive. So we can communicate by socket. We can communicate between two devices and send and receive the data between them. So the key concepts of socket. uh, Network communication uses socket to communicate two devices. In network communication we use a socket to communicate between two devices. Then socket provide a bidirectional communication channel, means it uh, we can communicate in bidirectional with both direction. Third is the socket components. Socket components we have two uh, components, that is IP address and second is port number. IP address is uniquely assigned address which is uniquely assigned to the particular devices, and we can by which we can find that particular devices by that particular IP address. So IP address identify the host. Second, port number. Port number identify the application or service on the host. On that particular devices there is various application are running or services are running. Mm, to locate or move on that particular service or application, there is a specific port number assigned to that particular service or application are running during running in a running condition. So by which that port number we can move or go to that particular application service running program by that particular port number. Then there is a two types of socket. One is stream socket, second is datagram socket. So what is stream socket? Stream socket is a reliable connection oriented communication. Second, data is received in same order it was sent. And third, it uses transmission control protocol, that is TCP. So all two about two properties of these are the properties of TCP. So we can say the stream socket uses the TCP protocol. Second is datagram socket. So in datagram socket, it is a connectionless, unreliable communication. Second, data is sent as a packet without guarantee of delivery. And third, it uses user datagram protocol. As we know about two properties of UDP, so datagram socket uses the user datagram protocol. So this point which are mentioned in stream socket and datagram socket, we can understand more or explain more in further slide. So let's see first the practical implementation of UDP and TCP using Java socket. So let's see the first practical implementation and then see which classes or methods in Java which is used in our program. So let's see the practical implementation and output, how it works, and then see the what is difference between UDP and TCP protocol. Here is client and server code which is used for transmission control protocol. So let's see the client's .java file first. So this is a code for client.java in TCP protocol. So let's see the code first. We can explain the methods or functions which is used in this program later in our PPT slides. So please read the code or check the code how it works and how this how is structured in the client.java code. So now we see the server.java file code. This is a server.java file code. So before running that two files, that is server.java and client.java, make sure that is you install the Java file or Java on your machine, so we can run the Java files on your machines. So to check the Java is installed on your machine or not, we need to open that cmd, that is command prompt, that is right click on that your mouse by mouse and open the terminal. So it is open now. uh, Simply type java dot minus dot version. So it is showing that Java is successfully installed on my machine, and it is showing which version of Java and the date of Java installed on my machine. This is shown here, or that version release. I think it is a release version of that particular version. It is a release date, I think. So make sure you install Java on your machine. So now let's see the how to run that client.java and server.java file on your machine. Simply right click on your machine, click on open terminal, then again go to your machine, again click open terminal. Here we uh, open terminal two times. So now we open the two command prompt or terminal windows. Now click on that and select both side as a terminal windows. So now we are first run the compile the Java, compile the client.java file. So for compiling we enter java.c, that is Java compile. We have to compile first client.java file. It is successfully compiled. Then here we first, then we have to compile the file, that is server.java file. It is also successfully compiled. Then if we run the client file code, it gives error because no sender has send the request to the client, so it gives the error, that is exception handling, that is no server is a request to client to establish the connection. So first we need to run the server file code first. After running the file code, it server has been started and waiting for a client connection. So now the server send the request to the client. So now client, then we need to run the client file code. So now I entered java.client. So now we run the client file code. So now it is connecting to the server, and here we go, it is client is successfully connected to the server. Now we have to send the message from client to the server side. We cannot directly enter on the server side before client send any message. That is, server is waiting for the response of client. So now we say send the hi message to the server. Here we go, here we receive the hi message from the client. Now we enter hello message that is replied to the client. So we get the message hi, and now we are going to send hello message to the client. Now client is waiting for a server response. Now we type enter, then here we go, we receive hello message from server. Now it's client time to respond to that particular message. So now I type how are you. uh, Guys, note that here we cannot send message by server until the client send any message. So it is a server is waiting for client until it gives any response. So make sure in TCP client and server, it is dependent on each other. They wait for uh, or they wait for response to client or server until sending the next message or data. So here I said send how are you message to the server side. Here we go, here I receive the how are you message, and here the keywords are looking, this is I entered before client message are the client response are received. So we can urge them and type I am fine. That is a basic implementation of uh, client and receiver structure using TCP transmission control protocol using socket in Java. Next, we have to see the user datagram protocol using Java in a socket, using socket in Java. So let's see that programs. We see the code for UDP client.java file. Here is the code for UDP client.java file. Next, we see the UDP server.java file code. Here is the code for UDP server.java file. So now we have to run the two Java files at once, so we can communicate with each other. So to perform that action, we have to open, right click, and open in terminal. Click on the open in terminal. Then we have to need two windows. So again we have to need to click, right click, and then click on open in terminal option. Now we have two windows, so make sure that two windows display at the same time. So I click on that option. Then we have to compile two files, that is Java UDP client.java file, and second is udp.server.java file. So let's compile it. UDP client.java file, Here we go, it is successfully compiled. Then we have to compile java c udp, that is server dot java file. Here it is successfully compiled. Then we have to run that compile file, that is udp server. Friends, make sure that the compile file and the file name is same, but the extension during the running run the program is not used. We use java and that file name, the extension .java file, it is not used after compilation, successfully compilation of that particular java file .java file. So make sure note of this point. So sir, now server is listening. Now we have to run the java udp client file. Here we go. Here is a hello message is sent, and client, here we received the hello from client, and we send hello message to the client. So here we go, here we receive from server, that is hello from server. There is no connection established between in udp. So there is a basic difference between TCP and UDP. We can say the difference and methods, various methods and used in UDP and TCP, and we can differentiate between them. So let's move on to the PPT points. After practical implementation, we see which methods and functions used in our programs. So let's see that part. Key Java classes for socket programming. First, server socket class for TCP server. The purpose of server socket is used to create a server that listens for incoming connections. Important methods in server socket. Server socket create a server socket bound to specified port. Accept. Wait for a client to connect and return a socket object for communication. Here is an example of that server socket class. Explanation of our example. The server socket binds to a specified port, that is 8080 mentioned in our example, and listens for incoming connections. When a client connects, the accept method creates a new socket for that specific connection. Next, socket class for TCP client and server communication. The purpose of socket class is socket is used to represent both the client and the connection between the client and server. Important methods in socket class. Socket, it takes string host and import. For the client, this constructor is used to connect the server. Get input stream, return an input stream to receive data from the connected socket. Get output stream, return an output stream to send data through the socket. Is an example of that socket class. Explanation. The client uses the socket constructor to connect to the server using server IP address, that is localhost used in example, and port number, that is 8080. The output stream is used to send data to the server, and the input stream is used to receive the data from the server. Datagram socket classes for UDP client and server. The purpose of datagram socket is used for both client and server in UDP communication. It enables sending and receiving packets in datagrams. Important methods used in datagram socket class. Datagram socket takes import variable It creates a socket bound to specific port. Datagram packet used to send or receive data in a packets. Send datagram packet send a packet to the remote socket. Receive datagram packet receive a packet from a remote socket. Example for server. Here is the example for server and here is the example for client. Explanation for server file code. Example: the datagram socket listens on specific port and waits for incoming packets. The receive method block until packet is received. Explanation for client code. The datagram packet is created with the data to send and the send method transmits it to the server. Next, key function and methods. Server socket and socket TCP methods. Accept used on the server side to accept incoming connection from the client. Return a new socket object for the connection. Get input stream. Return an input stream for reading data from the socket. This is used by both client and server to receive data. Get output stream. Return an output stream for writing the data to the socket. This is used by both client and server to send the data. Close. Close closes the connection and release the associated resources. Datagram socket and datagram packet, that is UDP methods. Send used to send a packet to the remote socket, that is destination IP and port are specified in a packet. Receive used to receive a packet from remote socket. The method block until a packet is received. Get address and get port. This method retrieves the IP address and port number from the packet, used on the server side to know where the data is came from. Next, the theory behind the TCP and UDP communication. Transmission Control Protocol. As we know, it is connection oriented. So, what is connection oriented? Before sending data, a connection is established between the client and server. Reliability. What it means reliability? That ensure that all data is received in correct order and without corruption. Use cases of TCP. Application that require guarantee of delivery such as file transfer, email, that is SMTP, and web browser, that is HTTP and HTTPS. Steps in TCP communication. First, three-way handshake means establish the connection. Second, data transmission means once connected, data flow between client and server. Third, connection termination means after data transfer, the connection is closed. User datagram protocol. As we know, it is connectionless. What it means connectionless? There is no need to establish a connection before sending the data. Unreliable. It is means there is no guarantee that data will be received or in the correct or in the it is in correct order. Use cases of UDP. Application where speed is crucial and minor data loss is acceptable, such as live video streaming, online gaming, and VoIP means voice over IP. Steps in UDP communication. First, the sender sends a datagram packet to the destination. Second, the receiver listens on a specific port and receives the packets if available. Now see the basic difference between TCP and UDP code and what is the difference between output of TCP program and UDP program. So as you know, TCP is connection oriented and UDP is connectionless. TCP is a connection oriented. A connection must be established between the client and server before data transfer occurs. Output example: of TCP server and client. So here is the server output, here is the client output. So the server waits for the client to connect, and once it is connected, data is exchanged reliably and ensure order and delivery. UDP. UDP is a connectionless, means data is sent as a packet without establishing the connection. Here is the output example of UDP server and client. Here is there is no connection setup like TCP, and the client sends a message to the server and server responds without any handshake. Data delivery is not guaranteed or it is not in order. So now see the reliability between TCP and UDP. TCP guarantee the reliable delivery of data. If data is lost, it is retransmitted. Also, data arrives in correct order. In the TCP program, after client send a message, it waits for acknowledgement from the server and ensure the message was received. This reflects in the read and write calls output. The communication will always succeed unless there is a network error and both client and server wait for each other to respond. UDP. UDP does not guarantee reliable delivery of data. There is no acknowledgement or retransmission mechanism. In UDP code, the client sends a message using send to, and the server receives it with the receive from. No acknowledgement or error handling mechanism is inherently provided by UDP. Out. Message may be lost or arrive out of order without the program explicitly detect it. Data transmission and flow control. TCP. TCP provides flow control and congestion control. Data is broken down into packets and sent sequentially with the retransmission if any packet are lost. The client sends a message to the server and the server waits for the entire message to be received before the responding. UDP. UDP is a datagram protocol where data is sent in packet and there is no flow control or congestion control. The client sends a packet and the server processes that packet without any guarantee of packet order or reliability. Fourth, speed versus reliability. TCP. TCP is slower compared to UDP due to connection establishment and acknowledgement and retransmission mechanism. However, it is more reliable. Output is slower because of back and forth acknowledgement between the client and server. UDP. UDP is faster than TCP since it does not wait for acknowledgement or establishes a connection. Output is faster, but there is a chance of message loss or message being out of order. Key difference in codes. TCP code server. Establish a socket. Binds to an IP and ports. Listen for connection. Accept connection and start communication. Client. Establish a socket. Connect to the server. And then it send and receive data in connected session. UDP code server. It establishes a socket, then it binds to an IP and ports. Then it receives a message from client without needing to establish a connection first. Client establish a socket, send a message to the server, wait for response without any connection establishment. Conclusion. Sockets are fundamental in enabling network communication in Java. TCP provides reliable order communication and is used for critical service where data integrity is important. UDP is faster but unreliable, suitable for services where speed is more important than data accuracy. Now, based on that socket programming, we have to perform the following practicals for computer network. First, implementation of client-server program using TCP socket and UDP socket using socket programming. Second, implement stop and wait protocol using socket programming. Third, implementation of sliding window and piggybacking technique using socket programming. Fourth, implementation of go back N protocol using socket programming. So here we see the practical implementation of socket programming using sockets in Java. So thank you.